Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope you've had a great weekend so far. Hope you're all enjoying your Sunday as we're about to hit the work week. Ain't a lot to talk about, so if you really want to know what's going on this coming week, stick around in this video. It's going to be a longer video, but I'm going to break down everything to what's going on, uh, everything including what's going on midweek, and then we're watching a system for next weekend that is going to change a lot. So I want to mention that before we get deep into this. Things are going to change with this, but it's important to mention it because it is showing up on two of the major models, which is the GFS and the European, of some kind of big time system next weekend. How big time will it be by the time we get to the weekend? That's the question mark. But we're going to talk about what we see right now and really break down what we know, which isn't a whole lot, but we can still talk about it here. As far as the snow event for midweek for the Northeast and Mid Atlantic is really turned into a Mid Atlantic event. So, for any people who are listening from the Virginia area, especially around Washington, D.C., Maryland, Delaware, southern areas of New Jersey, New York City, Boston, still, you guys don't even have to worry about it being too warm now. You are cold enough, but now you're worrying about precipitation and how far north it can get. But this is really trending to more of a light to moderate event, if anything. But some areas a little bit further south could see snow. And there's even some models hinting at a little bit of snow for areas in North Carolina. But we'll talk about that. We'll break it all down. I do want to mention a year ago today, I hit 1,000 subscribers. And I'm already almost at 8,700 subscribers. So the past year from today has been amazing. The growth has been awesome. I never anticipated to have this much growth from this. I started this and it was just kind of like a pipe dream. And it's been a mini dream come true to have an audience to talk about what I love, which is the weather. So I definitely appreciate all y'all who respect what I say and value what I say and trust what I say. So thank you for everything. Thank you for just the amazing support. So if you guys are watching this and are new, hit the subscribe button. I do have a goal to hit 10K by the end of the year, but we don't have a lot of the year left, obviously. So we're going to have a lot to talk about. But like the video if you like it. Subscribe if you haven't. Appreciate the amazing support. I really do, guys. I want to always let y'all know that I appreciate y'all. That's very important to me. I don't want to just talk and look at how much I grow and not acknowledge the fact that y'all are the people who are helping me grow. So I appreciate the support. Anyways, like I said, this is going to be a longer video. So if you really want to know what's going on and what looks to be a very active weather week, stay tuned. I do want to mention, if you're wondering about severe weather as far as what's going on right now until overnight hours, there is going to be a severe weather event. Watch the video that I made this morning. Not much has changed, but it will be unfolding in here in the coming hours. But we're going to start off talking about the midweek event, and then we're going to break down what's going on into the weekend and what we know. So we're going to look at the European, the GFS, the NAM, the latest NAM that we have. There's a new one running, but I'm not going to be able to show it because it's not quite ready to show. We're going to look at the Icon, even Canadian. We're going to talk about how much snow it's showing for each, and we're going to talk about why it's trended south. So latest European coming in, it gets this first system out of the way, gets our next system midweek in, and this is all that it's showing. It's showing some very light snow for the mountainous areas of Virginia, a little bit of a light mix, maybe some snow, maybe some rain for Washington, D.C. But look at these little pink dots in North Carolina. Maybe a little bit of rain and sleet mix, but it's going to be hard. It looks like the dominant feature in this system has really became. Sorry, I had to pause really quick. Had to do something, but has really became the southern stream has been the dominant piece of energy here. Therefore, most of the precipitation is far south, and I'll tell you why that's the case here in a second. So stay with me here. Shows a little bit of light snow breaking into areas of southern New Jersey, and if I expanded this, it would show a little bit of snow making it to the Cape Cod area, but altogether, it's a very light event. There's not a whole lot going on with this. You look at the latest GFS. It's a little bit different here. It's still amplified. It's still more of an amped up scenario, but I can tell you it's trended south. The European has won the battle with this so far. If the progressive scenario happens, the less amplified, the less precipitation scenario happens, which looks to be the case because we're trending that way in the medium to short term. I would say short term now. European wins this battle against the GFS. The GFS still shows a pretty aggressive scenario, pretty significant low pressure well off the coast of the Mid-Atlantic. And if this was to happen, the GFS was to happen, this would be a nice early season snowfall event for areas in Northern Virginia, West Virginia, Washington, D.C., Delaware, New Jersey, New York City, even up to Boston. We'll see a nice little snow event from this. Now you look at the NAM from the 12Z, from the lunchtime NAM. We'll bring this here. Let's get a little bit closer here. Yeah, let's do this. So we get a little bit closer. You look at the latest NAM, and this is the 12 km NAM, which, you know, certainly isn't super accurate, especially at this range, but it's still model guidance, and it's still short range model guidance. But here it comes at around Wednesday morning. You have an area of light to moderate snow breaking out anywhere from Kentucky, far eastern areas of Kentucky, the mountainous areas of Virginia, maybe even a little bit in Tennessee and North Carolina. Moving over Northern Virginia, a nice band of snow over Washington, D.C. Wednesday morning. And then this low pressure gets going here. And yes, there's a sharp cutoff right here between rain and snow. But there's snow definitely breaking out into New York City and getting very close to Boston. But there's a sharp cutoff where precipitation is. There's plenty enough cold air right here. But this would be a light to moderate snow event for Washington, D.C., to Baltimore, to Philadelphia, but it's really close for New York City. Enough cold air, but not enough precipitation here. And that's because this high pressure right here is trended a lot closer, not necessarily stronger, but it's digging a little bit more, and the position of it's much more favorable for a more colder but suppressed scenario. And you know, that's what the latest NAM shows. You look at something like the Icon. This is more of a broader view. We'll get this in motion here. Just ran through it by accident, and it's actually kind of in between the NAM and the GFS. You know, shows snow from Washington, D.C. all the way to New York City, all the way to Boston, but it's a light event. Obviously, whoever is flirting with that rain and snow line has the heaviest precipitation. So if you're north of that rain or snow line, you're getting very wet snow. And but you might get the most snow because you have the most precipitation to deal with. This snow makes it all the way up to Boston, but not a lot up that way. You look at the Canadian. Canadian is more closer to the European, but it's more colder. It's a cold biased model, so it's not surprising at all. Shows snow breaking out over, light snow breaking out over a lot of Virginia, but it never even makes it all the way to Washington, D.C., and really just brings light snow to coastal areas of New Jersey, Long Island, and areas of Cape Cod. So what's going on here? Well, you look at the high pressure, and we'll stop this as the latest GFS. Now, all this can change in the evening runs. I'm just showing you the latest runs from lunchtime. But if you go 4 runs prior, actually, I think this is, let's back it up here. So back 1, 2, 3, 4. So you bump this into the most current run at the same time frame, which is Wednesday evening, which is when the storm's really cranking up. I'll go all the way to the present run, and you see how this this high pressure kind of trends more south and goes more south. It's not much, but there's also a piece of the vortex, a polar vortex, that kind of breaks off a little bit more, and just the trough digs more. Here, so that allows for more of the southern stream interaction to take place, and this low pressure trends more south. So location of this high pressure, not so much the strength, is a little bit more south in recent runs. So if you're looking at how much snow these models show, well, here comes the European. Shows that's it. So at most it shows an inch or two. Shows a coating around Delaware, southern areas of New Jersey. And it shows the most snow, really, for the mountainous areas of Virginia. But that's it. The European is very dry. I don't know if it's going to be that dry, but we'll see. You look at the GFS, and the GFS is an all-out snowstorm. From, you know, West Virginia to Washington, D.C. is actually a hot area for snow here, or cold area, if you will. Almost a half a foot of snow. Now, this is a 10-to-1 ratio, so it'd be probably more closer to a few inches of snow showing up for Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, and then it shows snow also in the Cape Cod, a few inches of snow into Boston. You look at the NAM, how much snow does the NAM show? Here we go. Same thing almost as the GFS, a nice event for Washington, D.C., a couple inches of snow. But there's a jackpot area here in northern Virginia into Delaware, into areas of Maryland. And yeah, so this would be a nice early season snowfall for these areas right here. So if you're in these areas, you need to watch. This could continue to trend a lot drier, but I don't think it's going to trend warmer. I'll tell you that. If anything, this thing is going to trend like the European, and there's not going to be much precipitation for anybody, which I hope is not the case because that means we get drier down here in the southeast too, and we need rain. If you look at the EPS ensembles, they are basically super dry. I mean, there's not any really good signal for snow anymore. It's completely went away. You got to respect the European. The European's the one that's showed this trending south first. So even though it's a scenario that most people don't want to see because people want a nice early season snowfall, you got to respect it because altogether it's won the battle of trending south. You look at the GEFS ensembles, and here you go, guys. You know, it's much more beefed up than the EPS ensembles. You got a nice mean of 2 to 3 inches here in Northern Virginia, West Virginia, and you still have a nice jackpot area up here in Southern New England, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and a couple inch mean here in New York City. So I can't really get zoomed in there. But, you know, you look at the energy here, and it's definitely trended less amplified even on the GFS and more flattened, if you will, and just not as a robust piece of energy, which the way that depicts as far as precipitation is it's not going to show as much, whether it's rain or snow. So I will mention, you know, you got to watch out Mid-Atlantic. When I say you got to watch out, I don't think it's going to be a significant snowstorm for anybody. I think it would, if worst case scenario, somebody might get 4, 5, 6 inches of snow. Now, I might be wrong, but, you know, I think a lot of people in the Mid-Atlantic will welcome that. I think a lot of folks in the Mid-Atlantic get whiffed a lot, especially Washington, D.C. is a big-time snow hole. You know, I've heard the horror stories from weather enthusiasts in that area about how y'all always whiff in that area. Trust me, I get it. I live in Columbia, South Carolina. The winter of 2017, 2018 was absolutely brutal. Every city in the Southeast got snow but us, so trust me, I understand. But focusing on the weekend storm. Now, before I get deep into this, I want to mention this is going to change a lot. This might change overnight. But I will tell you, the European is sounding the alarm on this system. So we're getting into the late week, getting into Friday morning, getting into this weekend. What's going on here is you got this, it's a little bit positively tilted, but it's almost a neutrally tilted trough here. And it's dangerously close to being negatively tilted, which normally promotes a severe weather event. But either way, this is a sharp digging cold front, almost a cutoff low here. It almost gets cut off in the mainstream of things. What happens here is you have a big-time frontal boundary that starts moving through as we get into Saturday for areas of the Mid-South, Tennessee, you know, and surrounding states. Then we're getting into Saturday night, into Sunday, and this intensifies, and you have cold air chasing this precipitation. So you have heavy precipitation here, which could be in the form of severe weather, some kind of line of storms. We won't know that kind of detail really until we get about midweek. And then at the same time, you have this cold air chasing up this precipitation. You got heavy rain in the northern part of this system, changing to intense heavy snow for areas of the Ohio Valley. And you see these areas of pink even Alabama and Tennessee. Last night, the overnight run was going crazy in Tennessee with heavy snow. But not so much the case, but changes to snow in the mountains. And this is an intense frontal boundary as far as rain changing to heavy snow in the northeast. So we have to watch this. So this is kind of what it looks like in a nutshell. As far as the details, as far as the severe weather here, and I'll tell you the four, basically this is wind energy at 500 millibars here. We're getting here in time. We're getting into the weekend. And look at this sharp digging trough here. Now it is this does look positively tilted right here, meaning it's digging to the southwest, the northeast. But I will mention, you know, out in front of this, there's going to be a lot of wind energy. Dew points are going to be surging. It's going to be surging warm, moist air out the Gulf. And when I'm about to show you the dew points, I know it doesn't mean a whole lot to you when you look at it, but it's incredibly, you know, I wouldn't say scary, but it's worrisome surface profiles as far as moisture return for the eastern U.S. I mean, it shows it all the way up into the mid-Atlantic to northeast. I mean, it's incredibly sharp digging trough with a lot of wind energy right here. And when we look at dew points here, I mean, check it out. You got obviously cold Arctic air right here, dry air. And then you get into the weekend, you notice this huge air mass that's shifting from moist to dry. But before that happens, you have dew points surging well into the 60s, all the way up into southern New England, the Ohio Valley. That mixed with all these other thermodynamics and kinetics here, you have plenty of low-level moisture to deal with for a severe weather event. At this range, that's all you can look at is the basic fundamentals of ingredients to severe weather here. And this is a big time moisture flow right here. This is some muggy air for mid-December standards. If we're getting into this weekend and this still looks like this would set up for a very muggy weekend and then ultimately severe weather in the latter part of the weekend, depending on where you are. And then you look at as far as like actual air temperatures. I mean, check it out on Saturday next weekend. You got areas of Florida getting into the mid 80s almost showing up in South Carolina, the deep south, and then look at the 40s here. So it's a big time tight boundary air mass and a very sharp cold front. It's a fleeting cold front, meaning it'll probably bring winter for a few days and then it might warm back up, as it looks like the European. It's very warm towards mid-month, like almost like a death ridge kind of warm. It looks pretty brutal. But this would definitely set up for severe weather if this was to occur. And, we look at the K index. This is on weather models. It basically shows us where thunderstorms are likely to form. And, of course, it spikes ahead of this trough. And, that just tells us Saturday into Sunday that we have a big-time thunderstorm threat. And as far as snowfall behind this, this is definitely still up in the air. All this is up in the air. But this would be a big time rain, snow chasing rain kind of event, cold air chasing precipitation. So, if the European was to happen, you would have some heavy rain changing to rapidly accumulating snow behind this up here. And then you have a little bit of snow even showing up to the south, especially in the ridge of the mountains, North Carolina and Tennessee. So there's a lot still to work out. There's a lot that we need to figure out what's going to happen. But this is an ever-changing situation. But there's some pretty... I feel like it was a more agreement probably 12 to 18 hours ago. But there's some definite agreement as far as the models, as far as some kind of major system next weekend. So we'll watch this. Active times ahead. I don't see any real intense cold ahead, but I do see an active pattern as far as storm systems. So that's all I got, guys. Y'all have a great start to your week, and God bless all y'all.